Mayor Lynch,
Here.
Member Collins,
Here.
Member Lewis,
Here.
Member Young Johnson, Member Williams.
Here.
We have the approval of the minutes for January 24th and 10th, I believe. Yes.
Mayor, I'd just like to make one correction. It's just a spelling error for the January 10th minutes. The co-op was actually Sand, S-A-N-D, Piper, not Sam Piper. With that correction, Mayor, I will make a motion to approve the minutes from both January 10th and January 24th.
I'll second that motion.
We have motion and a second. Are there any other corrections? If not, all in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. We have unfinished business, the 2023 pet shop license renewals.
Mayor, I know we've tabled these on a couple occasions and asked that, correct me if I'm wrong, asked that representation from the 3 pet shops that are seeking renewals be here. Do we have members in the audience from the pet shops? All 3 of you? Great.
So if one of you all three of you can come forward, and then if there are questions, we can ask them.
My name is Ken Elwood. I'm here on behalf of Furry Babies. Frankly, I'm going to advise my clients to stay there and where they're seated because they have received death threats and threats to damage their property over this. So, but I can answer any questions you have.
Attorney Elwood, if you could just maybe walk us through the operation, and I think we're particularly concerned to some extent about the sources of the animals and what those sources are and generally how they operate.
Absolutely. It is a franchisee. It is a woman-owned business, this particular franchise. They get their dogs or puppies from 51 different breeders, all licensed. They also get some from hobby breeders, which is between 5 and 20 female dogs, as I understand it. The Department of Agriculture does their inspections. They do have a PowerPoint talking more specifically about the breeders. I know that my clients have met with the mayor on 2 occasions, and I think she's seen that video. The video was seen by the code enforcement officer, and they have no objection to all the inspections you guys want to have. They're open for inspections, and anybody on the board wants to come see their operation or find out more about it, we'll certainly play the PowerPoint for you. I read this morning about Senate Bill 134. I think House Bill 1121 is dead. Senate bill basically says that communities like Portage that have already, communities unlike Portage that have restricted any pet shops cannot now do so once Senate Bill 134 becomes law. But that, I don't know what effect that has. If it affects you guys changing your ordinance, I'm just not sure. Any other questions?
You referred to the 51 different breeders that are licensed, and then what was the second group that they seek puppies from?
They're called hobby breeders. They're
Hob-
between 5 and 20 female dogs, so they're smaller. They don't make them get the full license because of, they're subject to inspections from the Department of Agriculture. It's a designation from them. The other interesting thing is there is a certification that started at Purdue University. It's called Canine Care Certification. All of the breeders are in the process of getting that certification. The delay is because so many breeders want to be a part of it. Purdue has been kind of slow to let people in or do the inspections to let people in. But they have all started that process.
Has Furry Babies had any citations from the city?
They had one citation that was dismissed because, so the inspector came in and saw that the little bottle water feeder was not on the cage, but then we showed a video that we had just removed it 20 minutes ago to clean, so it was dismissed.
How often do they inspect in there, Ken, do you know?
Once a year.
Dan, do we need to take these individually then?
You know, you can. I don't know if the board has any particular questions of the other two, maybe the same questions, actually, but, and then maybe do a global motion is fine.
Yeah, I think we should, in all fairness, hear from the other 2 applicants and pose the similar questions.
Okay, thank you, ladies, for coming today. Are you with Pet Supplies or Petco?
I'm with Petco.
Okay. So do you have puppies at Petco?
No, we do not sell puppies or kittens. Rather, we do host adoption events with local, shelters, community organizations like that. We also do feature locally adoptable cats on a regular basis in our cat condos in the store for adoption only. We mainly partner with Hobart Humane Society, the Independent Cat Society, as well, Feline Community Network. So they also do host adoption events in our store for dogs and cats. We're mainly just there for the space and the recognition in the community. Petco Love, our nonprofit part of our company. In the last year, we've given $75,000 to the Hobart Humane Society and $5,000 to the Feline Community Network locally here. We do also do food drives, donation drives that support the animals at the shelters as well. Other than that, we just sell small companion animals, reptiles, fish, hamsters, guinea pigs, birds, things like that.
Jamie, do you?
Thank you.
Stephanie, do you have any questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
Do we have someone, are you from Pet Supplies? Okay.
Yes, my name's Melissa Kirk. Like Petco, we don't sell cats or dogs. We don't have any in-house animals up for adoption. We do work with local rescue groups for adoption events sporadically throughout the year, but that's about it. We do have companion animals as well, like small animals, birds, reptiles that we get from Pet Industries. And then we've got reptiles from Reptile Industries. They're all accredited, licensed, inspected, but yeah.
Stephanie? Thank you, ladies.
Yep. Thank you.
You still have your, do you have a veterinarian or a grooming service in there too?
We do have a salon.
Okay.
Madam Mayor, if it pleases the board.
Yes.
We, on our inspections, are animal control people, and we found no violations.
Thank you very much.
One last plug, I forgot to mention this. They do take the puppies to the Rittenhouse. I thought this was cool. Rittenhouse Nursing Home, assisted living once a month. Let the seniors play with the puppies.
Good, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, I will, Dan?
I was just going to say, it's up to the board. You can just do a motion for all three, or you can take them one at a time. It's up to you.
What are the board's wishes?
Given our current ordinance, it sounds like that all three are in compliance with our ordinance, so I'll make a motion to renew all three licenses.
I second that motion.
We have motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Jamie, did you?
No, as long as they're in compliance with our ordinances.
So, and I want to make it clear that this doesn't mean we're endorsing anybody. We're not endorsing furry babies or any of the, pet businesses here. So it's just that we are complying with the ordinances as they are today. So, but we do monitor the state legislation, and we are keeping an eye on it. So if there are no further questions, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Thank you, everyone, for coming today.
I think, Madam Mayor, that the board wanted to pass the minutes, the green cards and the communicates you had.
Yes, did you all receive a registered letter informing you of this meeting today?
Yes.
Okay. I don't see the green cards on here, Michelle. Is this what this is?
I believe so.
Because there's no date, there's no signature, there's no when they received it or signed it.
Can I approach it, Mayor? I can show you my notes.
Okay. Okay, thank you. Can we see that in a minute? Yeah,
What's the date of that?
February 9th.
thank you.
Thank you.
Can you clarify, Attorney Elwood, there was no prior notice to that?
We did not receive any prior written notice. Just curious. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we have new business, we have special events, we have Ready to Live. Mijo, are you ready to talk about that?
Good morning.
Good morning.
I am representative of Ready to Live Entertainment. We do booking for concerts, comedy shows, all kind of other events into that matter. My partner, Chris Figueroa, could not be here today. He's feeling a little under the weather, so I'm going to handle this one on my own. What we're trying to do is we're trying to bring a festival atmosphere to the city of Portage. We would like to use Founders Square as that focal point. We have a good hold on the music industry in which we have reach, and we could get top-tier artists to come to our city and perform and use the same, how can I say, resources as McDermott does in Hammond, Crown Point does in their areas, Hobart hosting Bricky Bowls. So we do this already for part of our living, and we would like to present it here for the city of Portage. We had two options. We were going to go in on our own and do it on our own, or we presented it to the city to go in as a joint venture so the city could also capitalize on revenue as well. For this first one, we're looking at July 15th and 16th. On July 15th, we will be doing, if everything passes, a country music festival. And then on July 16th, we will be bringing Cinderella as the headliner, which is a 80s rock band. Demographic age-wise that we're believing I'm pulling is from the ages of 35 to 55. We will be having a beer garden. We already had a couple meetings, one with the mayor, actually two with the mayor, one with the chief and the assistant chief of police. They both believe it's feasible. It's just has to be mapped out and planned out the right way. So I'm here to present it to the board to see if I can get your approval for these events.
So Mijo, I'm seeing on this just the July 16th, and I didn't see where the beer garden was on here. So is that okay, Dan, if we just add them on? Is the,
You can. It says will alcohol be
oh,
served.
okay, I'm sorry. I thought it still needed to say beer garden. Okay.
Well, thank you for being here today.
Yes.
Appreciate you bringing this event for consideration.
Absolutely.
You had mentioned that this would be a partnership with the city, and there would be some revenue opportunities for the city as well. Could you explain that in a little more detail?
Well, the revenue, that pretty much what we would do is split 50-50. We'll take all overhead and then pay that back, of course, and then whatever the tops are, split it with the city. We did it with the city of Joliet, we did it with the city of Aurora, and we do it outside of here, and we're both from Portage, so we would like to bring it home. That's our goal, to bring it home.
Sure. So you would have the gross revenue minus expenses, and then whatever's left would be split 50-50?
Correct. That is if the city agrees to do the joint venture.
Right.
And what would be expected of the city?
The permits, the pavilion, maybe security, porta potties, things of that nature, and you got to understand that what we're putting forward is about $40,000 worth of entertainment, meaning with the rock bands. So, and then and our intentions on that was Saturday was going to be a free concert, and then capitalize off the alcohol, and then Sunday was going to be a price, and that depends on where we go. We would like to set a good range. We don't like to see, the way we do it is the alcohol is, or the food or whatever it comes out of it is where we really make the money. The ticket prices usually just pay for the talent, and then the overhead comes from the other side. Otherwise, you could price yourself out of the game. We're trying to bring this tier of an artist here to a smaller area where revenue might not be as expendable as it is in other areas. So if we can offer a ticket price at a good range and then still eat, if you would, off of the other sources of income coming from around it.
So if you're going to
I
have
assume-
tickets, I'm sorry.
I assume, have you been to the park board yet, or are you going to get on their agenda? 'Cause
We have not been to the park board. We're coming here first, and then we're just, first things first, we were talking, like I said, with the chief and them to make sure that security was feasible, that Portage believes they can handle it. And I believe, from speaking to them, they believe that it could be handled.
So, Attorney Witten, we did have Amy Armstrong from the Parks at our last meeting, and I think the discussion was what part Portage would be able to do. So we haven't quite sorted that all out to the point where we're comfortable with our park staff. We have a limited park staff. So I think we were still trying to fine tune that. I think what they're here for is to get permission to have the event, but we still need to work out
Correct.
the
Correct.
incidentals to it. So how much the park, because that's a busy time for the park, and they just don't have a lot of staff. So I don't know, Superintendent Lito, if you had anything to say, if you wanted to come up and speak with Miho and let us know your feelings as the park superintendent.
Yeah, Amy mentioned it, but I guess where I thought it was left off was there's a lot to work out cost-wise, porta potties and trash pickup and security, especially if the parks is covering it, that's pretty high. So I guess it would just have to be in the agreement what's covered. I just hate to say we get 50% and it not cover our costs.
Well, I think one of the things we talked about is just the park maybe handling the food trucks. We didn't really get into the weeds of the porta potties and things like that. And I think, Attorney Witten, we would have to have you help us with a contract so that everybody knows what everybody's responsible for.
I would agree with that, and I also think that whatever that contract says, the park board will be signing off and approving on it as well, since we're talking about funding and park resources. So, yeah, I mean, it's doable, it's just we have to get the details ironed out.
I agree.
I do have a question. You mentioned one day it'll be free, Friday it'll be free, and Saturday.
Saturday will be free.
Saturday.
Fridays for the, what do you have already on Fridays in the square?
The
The market. Fridays for the market. So it would just be a Saturday, Sunday event. And so, you know, we're planning on stopping both days by 8 o'clock.
But I guess my question is, if you're going to have a ticketed event, you're going to need a fence around the
Yes,
parks.
yes, absolutely.
Who's going to supply that fence?
But that's all in the makings. We have people that could do that, but then again, that's, if we're gonna do a joint venture, that's negotiable with the city. Everything's up for negotiations. It's not, this is it and that's it. Everything's up for negotiation. We're trying to make it work. We could do it ourselves. Like I said, we do it in other places. We're trying to bring it home and help the city as well as,
Jamie, I believe they do own fencing.
correct. We have companies that we work with. And they are not, I don't know the correct word, they're freestanding, so they don't get into the ground. They got feet and sandbags to hold them down, so they won't destroy the grounds of the Founders Square as well.
Just one other, in the area that you're going to serve alcohol, is that just beer, or are you going to sell other forms of alcohol?
I believe it's just beer as of right now.
So if we're going to take action today, I would suggest that whatever action we take be contingent upon the approval of the park board and then, you know, my crafting and review of an agreement. And I think we can work it out that way.
Okay, I think they're just trying to secure the park so that they can move ahead with planning with the bands.
Yes, we have to secure the talent. Right now, we have them on a hold, but at any point, this could all be for nothing if they get booked to go to California or some other spot. So what we do have them, we do have the main act in Aurora on Saturday night. So what we did was, which was if the city went in with us, piggybacked. So we routed them from Aurora to Portage, which then we get that talent at a cheaper price, which would be the $40,000 as opposed to the $50,000 or $60,000 that they would if we just did a one-day fly-in. So the overhead is cheaper for the city and us.
About how many do you normally have in attendance at your other events?
At other events, at the Piazza in Aurora, we have a 2,000 cap, and we're using that pretty much every weekend. We've done Soldier Field parking lot, which was about 4,000, and we did a Toyota parking lot, which is over 10,000. We have one in Michigan that we're planning that is going to be a 3-day event this summer, which is going to be 30,000 people a day. So we're growing, and we'd like to bring it home, like I said.
So I think, Diane, you have to, this should really go before your park board. They probably have a lot of questions, and so I think if this board approves the use of the facility, then their next step would be to come to the park board and to sit with you guys and figure out where you're at there. Is that what I'm thinking?
Yeah, that's good. And I can meet with them and give them the date.
Okay.
All right, I'll make a motion to approve the Ready to Live concerts on July 15th and 16th, with the understanding that the final location needs to be worked out with our park department, and also contingent upon Attorney Witten reviewing the agreement and the park board giving their final approval.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Are there any further questions? If not, all in favor signify by saying aye.
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 All opposed?
Thank you.
Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you
Leroy.
very much.
We have Gary Shakespeare Company.
Hi, I'm Christina Biancardi. I'm representing Gary Shakespeare Company. We are a 501c3 nonprofit theater company, and we perform in parks across Northwest Indiana, and we are looking to perform at Founders Square Amphitheater on Saturday, July 29th. And we are asking that all fees be waived because we are, all of our shows are free. It's a free event for the community. We have performed there 3 times before. We seem to have a good turnout. The audience loves it. This year, we are performing The Tempest by William Shakespeare. It's a story of revenge, love, and forgiveness.
So Christina, I have a question. You've done this before, but I think that, Diane, doesn't the park board have to waive the fees, or they're just looking to us to waive? I thought you were kind of,
So when I talked to Amy, I thought because everything went in front of Board of Works for the city, that the park board wouldn't need to if it's Founders Square.
so I'm going to drag you into this, AJ. If they're renting Founders, for this is redevelopment, do they come before this board? Or if they're wanting to waive fees, I believe that goes to the park board.
How many more people get up here?
Excuse me. I believe the redevelopment commission has passed on authorization of the use of the spaces to the Board of Works and/or the Parks Department. I believe there was kind of a delineation between park space and public roads. That road's no longer there. So I don't know if that now pushes more of the responsibility to the parks, because this is the amphitheater and now a plaza, not the public street. Again, that's why the Board of Works would have had a greater role at that point, because it would have been the closure of the street, that different scenario. So now that it's a park, separated, I believe, Mayor, that it could be handled by the parks, and the waivers could be handled there, unless Attorney Witten has a different opinion.
No, I agree. I mean, our ordinance, notwithstanding state statute, but our ordinance says that the Parks Department sets these fees so long as they're reasonable. So I believe that it would be appropriate for the park board to waive those fees.
So then I'll also give her our information for our next park board meeting, and we'll do that. So would you still need to approve events, though, at Founders
Yes.
Square? Okay. So
Yes,
it's
that's
not the
what I
waiving of
was,
fees.
I think we have to have 2 approvals, this board and the park board.
Okay.
So we'll need a motion to approve this event being held at Founders Square on July 29th.
I make a motion to approve the Gary Shakespeare Company event on July 29th, 2023 at Founders Square Amphitheater.
I'll second the motion.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion?
I do have a question. How much are the permits?
Oh, I don't have the fee on me, I'm sorry, but how much they're gonna get waived?
Just curious.
I don't know it off the top of my head, I'm sorry.
We have motion and a second. Are there any further discussion? If not, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Good luck.
Thank you.
We have a solicitor's permit for the Gridiron Grill.
Good morning.
Good morning.
So, the Gridiron Grill is a food truck. I bought it last year. Went on a few times, looking to stay in the Portage area. It's where we live. Just came in to try to get my solicitor's license.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear your last comment. What was that, please?
I just came in to try to get my solicitor's license.
Is that all they need to operate a food truck is just a solicitor's permit?
I've got the health department, they've already inspected, and I've got that. So the only other thing I need to operate in the Portage is the solicitor's license, since I've already been approved through the health department.
So you're saying you want to be at Ace Hardware, Menards, Walmart, and those businesses have given you permission to have your food truck there?
Ace has, Walmart I haven't talked to yet, but I also would like to be at the Founders on the events. I have an email with the dates that I can be there, but I can't be there unless I get my solicitor's permit as well.
So Dan, he's just coming to us to get the solicitor's permit, because then, again, he's going to have to go to the park to get a permit to park his food truck at Founders. So there's a fee that you charge for that.
Yes, there is.
Okay.
So I would suggest, Madam Mayor, that any approval, if this board's inclined to do so, be contingent upon the agreement and permission of the property owners and the park board.
Yes, I know the ordinance committee reworked the permitting process when a food truck is being utilized at the park. So you'll need to be in compliance with that ordinance, and I'm sure the park superintendent can get you squared away on that. The other thing I would make sure that you have is your liability insurance and providing that information to the park as well.
I have that, and I can get them whatever they need. I've got $1 million liability, so,
Thank you.
thank you.
How often do you have to get recertified for your health department license?
I have to get every year, so I just got it done, and at the end of last year. They want it done before the 1st, but they do come out and inspect. Probably, I was inspected a few times last year. Lake County does it every time I go out. Portage, maybe once a week, they come out and inspect the truck.
I make a motion to approve the solicitor's permit for Gridiron Grill contingent upon property owner's approval and the park department's board approval.
I'll second that motion.
So we have a motion and a second. Does this come before you guys at all, Chief? Okay, okay. So we have motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 So we're looking forward to some good gridiron grits here.
Well, I hope so.
Let us know when you're open.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we have tag day permit for the Portage Food Pantry.
Good morning. I'm here again representing the Portage Township Food Pantry. I'm the president. And so I come here again asking for permission to do our Tag Day on September 9th. It's in conjunction with our food drive that we do at Strack and Van Til's and at Walmart. And so we will set up in front of them stores, but we will also be on the designated corners that the ordinances allow. And so we're just asking that we are been permitted to do our Tag Day on September 9th from 10 to 2. We have all of our vests, and we have probably about 8 to 10 volunteers that will be there collecting on the corners. And so every year it's been a pretty good, successful event. So, you know, trying to work around all the other events also that happen in the city. Sometimes, you know, it's hit or miss. You might get people coming into the city on it for an event, and you'll make more money on that time. So, any questions?
No, Joe, you do a good job with this. Thank you for all your time and effort that you spend with our food pantry. Appreciate that. So I make a motion to approve.
I'll second that motion.
We have motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? If not, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Joe. Good luck.
Thank you so much.
We have sidewalk and curb waiver for 6200 Old Porter Road.
Good morning, Madam Mayor, members. Before you for consideration this morning is a curb waiver as well as a sidewalk waiver agreement with Mr. Jason Ortiz for the property at 6200 Old Porter Road. I believe included in your packets is a curb waiver agreement in the amount of $2,500 and a sidewalk waiver agreement in the amount of $5,000. It'd be staff's recommendation to approve both curb waiver and sidewalk waivers for Mr. Ortiz at 6200 Old Porter Road.
So AJ, I do have a question. This is on the north side of Old Porter, correct?
Yes, sir.
Near Christmas School.
Yes, sir.
So what's happening at that property that created the request for the waiver?
Mr. Ortiz has recently acquired the property and is in process of making application to construct a single-family residence on the 10-acre property located at 6200 Old Porter Road. The 10-acre property has 2 access points to County Line, or to Old Porter Road, and that's why he's here seeking curb and sidewalk waiver.
Yeah, I went by there and I was trying to figure out where the property was, so you've clarified that. Thank you.
You're welcome.
So AJ, is there any plan in the future to have sidewalks in that area at all, or no?
Not at the moment. And I think if we started anywhere on Old Porter Road, probably start on the south side of the street.
So AJ, are the 10 acres, are they immediately on Old Porter Road? I didn't know there was 10 acres
No,
available.
good question. The 10 acres has 2 access points to Old Porter Road. Both are 50-foot wide access points. So the 10 acres that Mr. Ortiz is looking to build a single-family house on is located behind the houses that front on Old Porter Road.
Need a motion, please?
I'll make a motion to approve the waiver for both sidewalk and, was it a curb waiver as well? Yeah, for the amount of, total amount of $7,500 for 6200 Old Porter Road.
A second.
We have motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? If not, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. There you go, Mr. Ortiz.
Thank you.
We have the streetlight agreement for upscale construction.
Yes, before you this morning for consideration is a streetlight agreement with upscale construction. The developer is here with us this morning if there's any outstanding questions. The streetlight agreement contemplates the installation of 4 streetlights, one at the intersection of Kimberly and Buck, the second at the intersection of Buck and Fawn Lane, and the third at the intersection of Fawn Lane and Buck Lane, and between lots 24 and 25 on Buck Lane. In a letter from the department in 2021, when determining the cost of this, the department provided a letter to Mr. Ketwig indicating that the total cost for the lights for 2 years would be in the amount of $3,067.12. It would be staff's recommendation to approve the streetlight agreement with Mr. Ketwig, remitting a check to the city of Portage in the amount of $3,067.12.
Okay, I make a motion to approve the streetlight agreement with Upscale Construction, Inc. in the amount of $3,067.12.
I'll second the motion.
So I have a question. I have a receipt here for $2,752.
Yeah, I don't know if that's applicable to this. I believe in my reading of this that is for a check for street signs.
Okay.
Yeah, that's how I interpret it as
Yeah,
well.
I just wanted to
Good
point
question.
that out.
Good question.
I have a question also for Mr. Ketwig. It's kind of a weird question, but it's something that has happened here in the city before. So when you're building houses in that neighborhood, do you tell the people where the street light's gonna be?
Yeah, it's on a drawing that's up in the front of it, where everybody can see it, even the neighbors.
Yeah.
We have a drawing posted up front, where everybody can see what's going on in the subdivision. So we get a lot of traffic out there, people wondering and looking around, so yeah.
Well, the reason I asked is because we had a question from a homeowner who didn't want a street light there. And so I didn't want you to put street lights in, and then the homeowner says, I don't want that street light there. I mean, are you telling them right up front that street light is gonna be there?
To be honest with you, most subdivisions, we are requiring everybody to have a yard light. So we really didn't even want streetlights. According to what we're doing, we're supposed to have them, streetlights.
Yeah, I think
We don't have
AJ can,
mandatory that everybody have a yard light, so we really didn't even want to put streetlights in.
well, but yard lights go out and then people don't replace them even though they're required. I've seen that all over the city. Yeah.
So the sweet spot that the Plan Commission has tried to identify between a developer suggesting yard lights are the best way out, the city in attempting to reduce the number of street lights we have throughout the city has been a lot more targeted in working with the developers and identifying the precise locations of where these street lights are to be installed. So I identified 4 locations. We tend to put them at intersections and in cul-de-sacs. The bubbles sometimes that you're aware of, like when the street gets a little wider, but it's not a full cul-de-sac. And if there's too much of a distance between lots, and I think in this case, all 3 may be applicable here. But that recommendation to place those 4 streetlights do come with the Plan Commission approval that they offered during primary plat of the subdivision. And in all likelihood, at that point is when Mr. Ketwig made his case, the Plan Commission made their case, and that's why they're before you today seeking a streetlight agreement for 4 streetlights within this development. I think, Mayor, to your comment about some previous concerns, is that there was such a delay in the installation of the streetlights by NIPSCO that the streetlights were last and all the houses were there. And that is something that we're continuing to work on. But again, you know, the department gets their direction from the Plan Commission, ultimately by this body in terms of these agreements. And I just want to give you a sense of why we are where we are today, because there was a time when there were a lot more streetlights approved in subdivisions, and this is the Plan Commission's attempt to try to find that sweet spot of every 300 feet versus intersections, cul-de-sacs, mid-block if need be.
Thank you, AJ.
You're welcome.
I just had to bring that
No,
up
it's a
because
good point.
it's a question, and
People don't want streetlights in their,
Yeah.
flaring in their bedroom windows.
and then they call us and they want the street light out, and we can't take it out, so, yeah.
Yeah, we will, when everyone picks up their lot, it's located on the drawing. So do we take and say, hey, you know, you're gonna be living in front of a streetlight? We show them the drawing, let them pick off their lots. And almost everyone's got streetlights. I mean, you can't really hardly get away from it. It'd be nice, but I mean, you can't. You know, some people want the streetlights and other people doesn't want them. So it's hard to keep everybody happy, you know? But as long as we have brought them down from what they used to be. Before, it was at every corner and every walkway, and you really brighten up your neighborhood, but it's come down. But it is a HOA out there. You are supposed to keep your yard lights up to date. This HOA is going to run a little different than some of them that's ran through the cities and other cities too. It's going to be a real company, and it's going to be really maintained. So everyone's going to be aware of it. It's not individuals running the company. It's going to be a company ran HOA. So there will be people out there that will be looking for that, and even as far as landscaping.
Okay, good. I just wanted to ask the question. There are people who call us and want a street light, because Deb is here, and she's the head of the Traffic Commission, and there are people that said it's too dark on their street, and they want a street light after the fact. So it goes both ways, but I just think that since you're doing new construction, just letting your residents know, look, there's going to be a street light there, so
Yeah, they're all
Thank you.
stuff on the thing, so we making sure everybody knows.
thank you, Dan. Okay, we have street and sanitation bucket van truck quotes.
Madam Mayor, I think we still have to vote on the motion.
Sorry, guys, we need a motion.
I think there is a
We have
motion
a
on the
motion
floor.
and a second, yes. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Got carried away with that conversation, Dan, thank you. Street and sanitation van, Dan, Attorney Witten, do you have to leave for? Okay. Okay, Randy,
Good
go ahead.
morning, Mayor, Board. Within your packet, you should have 3 quotes from some competitors there. So a couple months, we've been trying to collect these quotes, and it's been very difficult. We've solicited many companies, and we've achieved 3 quotes. So from least to the most expensive, I'll go through those. We did obtain a quote from Utility Truck Company Equipment Incorporated, and they're located in Circleville, Ohio. Their price was $104,553. With a delivery of a piece of equipment, if we ordered it today, would be the end of 2023 this year. So the second quote that was received was from Linco Equipment Sales. They're located in Maryville, Indiana. Their price was $105,963. They did put within their quote that upon ordering, it would take 300 days for the chassis to get in stock and approximately 180 days to complete the unit. So that gives you a pretty good idea how long that would take. And then the last one is Runyon. They are located in Hoskins, Illinois, and they had quoted a price of $110,900. The unique thing about this, when we did solicit these quotes, we asked for a van-type bucket truck instead of a truck. The two first that I did give you a quote, they're sitting on like an F-550 Ford chassis type vehicle, pickup truck kind of, heavy duty. So we're leaning towards more the van. I know this is approximately $6,347 more than UTE, But the delivery time on the bucket van will be approximately end of April of this year. So they do have these in stock, and they just have to modify it to some of our specifications. They do reach our minimum reach requirement and our height requirement that is on this. What we would use this van for is utility services and general services and maintaining buildings, gutter systems, stuff like that. It's anything that would get us up in the air. Also, we have a very aggressive banner program that runs up and down Central. And some of the other equipment that we've used is quite old. We've asked another entity, I'm not going to mention, we've utilized their bucket truck, and it's broken down on us, so it's quite old. So we'd like to get something new and brand new, and my recommendation to the board, upon approval of this, and also with the funds that we're seeking is through the equipment bond. So once that's utilized and finalized, we'd like to utilize those funds. So my recommendation to the board would be Runyon Equipment Company at $110,900 for a van bucket lift. So,
I do
any
have a couple,
questions?
yeah, a couple questions,
Yes.
Superintendent Reader. So with the purchase of this new vehicle, would it eliminate the need to rent any equipment? And this would suffice for any height that we have to reach?
Yes, it would,
Okay.
including the Christmas tree.
Okay.
And I just want to point out that actually, when we rent that, RDC pays for the rental of that equipment.
Okay, thank you, Mayor. And then, so the only difference between these quotes is that the Runyon vehicle is a van
Yes.
type cab versus a traditional truck.
Yes.
And why did you specify a van? What advantage or benefit does that bring?
We could use the internal storage area for lights or any type of parts that we're transferring between jobs and here and there. With the trucks, it's very limited with some of the storage compartments, but with the van, we could get a number of lights. If we were working in one of the departments and we were putting up bay lights, we could utilize that van for storage, for transportation, so.
So the other two vendors were not able to supply a van type cab? Is that
No,
what you're saying?
No, they were not.
So Randy, if this money couldn't come from the equipment bond, do you have any other funds that you could fall back onto?
I know, Mayor, that the council did approve that primary list when we had the NOFA grant. We had comprises, and that bucket truck was included in that. So that was all switched over from the list to be approved underneath the equipment bond, once that was approved. So, but that is a good question. I'd have to talk to the clerk treasurer to see if there was other funds available outside the equipment bond.
So I know the NOFA bond is in progress, so
Yes.
could you add that back on there if something happened with the equipment bond?
That would be a clerk treasurer question.
Okay.
I couldn't answer that.
Thank you. Well, I know that we rent that, and RDC pays for the bucket lift all the time, and it's kind of inconvenient. It'd be nice to have a piece of our own equipment that we don't have to be going out and finding somebody's equipment and then it breaks down on us, and I think it's a good idea. I'm hoping you can get that, Randy.
And this one is in stock as opposed to 480 days out?
Yes, this one's in stock.
I'll make a motion that we approve the purchase, or are we approving the purchase or just moving forward?
Well, I think it's contingent upon the equipment bond.
I'll make a motion that we move forward for the request for the bucket van, quote, contingent upon finding the money in either the equipment bond or other sources.
I second.
We have motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? If not, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Motion carries. There we go. All right, Randy. Okay, we have permission to see quotes for adding left turn arrows on Lute and Willow Creek.
Good morning, Madam Mayor, members. Yes, the department, on behalf of the Traffic Commission, is here asking for your permission to seek quotes for a traffic head at the intersection of Lute and Willow Creek Road. The Traffic Commission, after some deliberation, has concluded that they would like to reinstall the 5-head traffic signal for east and westbound Lute Road at Willow Creek, so to help push some of the left turning movements through that intersection. We would be then at a subsequent Board of Works meeting opening those quotes for ultimately award and installation.
So this is east-west traffic?
Yes,
You
sir.
said, AJ? Okay.
Yes, sir.
I'll make a motion to Community Development Department to seek quotes on a left-hand turn arrows running east-west on the Lute Willow Creek intersection.
I'll second that motion.
We have motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? If not, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
We have bulk item appeal.
Yes, Madam Mayor, I have one from 2121 Saffron. It was a mistake on our part. It was cardboard boxes at the curb, and we accidentally charged the individual with a bulk item. So I'm asking the board to reverse that bulk item fee.
I'll make a motion that we reverse the bulk item charge for 2121 Saffron Street.
That was for $25 too. So
For how much?
$25.
Waiving the amount of $25.
I second that motion.
We have motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? If not, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
We have the claims. We have the claims of $1,246,269.53.
And I want to clarify, there's some claims on there for fees to me. You already approved these prior, but the checks didn't clear, so you had the bank, you reissued the checks, so they're asking you to reapprove those. It's the same thing.
I know the clerk treasurer is not here, but I don't know if that our clerk's department could answer a question regarding check number and check date. So when we see that column is blank, does that mean the checks have not been issued? And then I guess the other side of the coin is when a check number and check date appears, have they actually been issued and mailed to the vendor prior to approval? Okay, maybe we can get clarification on that. Thank you.
Just to follow up, so Dan, or I'm sorry, Attorney Whitten, the fees on here are for December, right? And so we approved those before.
Yes.
But the check numbers and the dates on this are the ones that didn't go through?
No, these are the reissued checks, for a reason, the checks that were cut, for the December fees that you approved, I deposited them at Horizon and they didn't clear, so, the banks, advised us to have them reissued. Okay. So that's what the clerk's done. Just because, it wasn't that they didn't clear for insufficient funds, I don't want anyone to think it was wrong. There's something between the clerk and the bank with, follow-up, and I don't know, but in any case, there were funds. It's just that the checks were on the list to be approved.
There's a positive pay that has to be approved to try to combat fraud.
Okay.
The checks weren't put in for the positive pay, so they weren't able to be approved, so they had to be reissued.
Right, okay. So
It
it's not,
says we had a problem with a fraud issue, and that's why the positive pay was put into place, so that didn't happen again.
I guess my only question is, do we need to make an adjustment on the amount of the previous one or this one?
well,
Been allocated.
I think from your perspective, it's not a problem. From my perspective, I just want to make sure they don't both show up on my 1099. But, yeah, and I think with positive pay, what happens is there's a list of checks that, because exactly what was indicated for fraud, I think if a check doesn't appear on the list sent over by the clerk, the bank will reach out to double check, and so we get two shots at it, but for whatever reason, sometimes it just didn't get in the pipeline. So it's not an insufficient funds thing, it's a fraud protection thing, and it just fell through.
So do we have to do this forever and ever, Michelle? This,
Yeah,
because of that fraud thing?
yeah, it's just a precaution to take to.
Okay.
Kind of like when the 1-800 number calls and says,
Soon as the
"What's
fraud
your
starts.
purchase?"
Soon as the fraud stops, we'll stop.
Yes.
Well, it's not something that we've had to do before, so it's just kind of,
They're getting sophisticated.
yeah. Okay.
No. Because the other checks weren't cashed, just changing the check number, basically.
I'll make a motion that we approve the claims in the amount of $1,246,269.53.
Second.
We have motion and a second. Is there any further questions? If not, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, motion carries. We have major illness claims.
Yes, Madam Mayor, just a few. I have signed off on 11 major illness requests, and there are no COVID leave requests. So at this point, I would ask that the board approve the 11 that I've signed.
I'll make a motion to approve the 11 MI claims approved by Attorney Witten.
Second.
We have motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. Chief Candiano, I think you had something you wanted to bring to us? Oh, I'm sorry, AJ. Oh, yeah, we're getting it. Go ahead.
All right, good morning. Trying to squeeze in on your agenda here. So this is going to be a little bit of a Groundhog Day thing here. So, and I did not speak to the attorney ahead of time, so hopefully this flies. Otherwise, feel free to jump in. So, if you recall, y'all approved the purchase of docking stations and computers not too long ago. Might have been 2 meetings ago. When we went to place the order through Dell, which was the lowest bidder, or the lowest quote, they responded back that our quote had expired, so we were unable to place the order. The new quote came back, and the price of the docking stations went up by $42.58 a piece for a grand total of $425.80 more. It is still by far the lowest of the 3 bids. So I was trying to determine if that was possible for us to just get it reapproved. Now this quote is good. Sorry, I'm intermingling quote and bid here, but this one is good until February 26th. So my hope would be that we can get this in before this one expires, so, is that plausible?
I want to be clear, so you did the RFQs, you got them back, these guys were the most responsive and lowest,
Yes,
but the quote expired, and they came back with a renewed quote that's slightly higher, but it's still the lowest.
it is still the lowest of the three by, I believe, over $3,000. So the grand total before was $24,346.90, and the total now would be $24,772.70. So again, it's an increase of $425.80. The computers did not go up, it's just the docking stations that went up. Like I said, it's still by far the lower of the three, just in the time that we had a meeting and went to order them, the quote expired and the prices went up, so, which I think is the world today.
So Chief, the vendor needs to be in receipt of this money by the 26th, otherwise we're right back to where we were.
I think if we just placed the order, I don't think it was a payment issue. I think that the quote had just expired. I think we didn't pay attention to the timeline close enough, and by the time I got it on the agenda for you all, and then I gave the authorization to order them, the quote had expired, so then they said you have to get a new quote, and it had gone up. So I don't think it was an issue with payment. I think it was just by the time we actually placed the order, it had expired. So I think we had a pretty slim margin there and didn't realize that it was that tight, so.
Do we
Thank
need to
you.
make a motion just for the additional $425.80?
So my suggestion would be to make a motion to approve the amended quote in the amount of whatever the grand total is, as it's still the most responsive and lowest quote received.
So that number is $24,772.70, and that's to Dell Technologies for 10 computers and 10 docking stations for those computers.
I'll make a motion that we approve the change order to Dell Technologies. The total order will be $24,772.70 because it is the lowest bid and the best service.
I second.
We have a motion and a second. Are there any further questions? If not, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries.
All right, thank you.
AJ, sorry. We have a long agenda today.
Yes, Madam Mayor, members, thank you for allowing me to bring this up under any other business. The department would like your permission to seek quotes for appraisal services for the airport and Loop Road traffic signal. We would be then opening those at a subsequent, or recommending it at a subsequent meeting so that we can move forward with that land acquisition. And Attorney Whitten.
That's correct. Thank you, AJ. So we are going through an attempt to purchase these small areas to allow for the equipment necessary for the traffic signal contemplated there. So in speaking with AJ before, we decided it's best to go through the full-blown purchase under the statute, which requires us to get appraisals. Which will be interesting because it's a very strange little slice.
So we're just asking to move forward with the appraisals?
That's correct.
Permission to seek quotes for appraisals.
I make a motion to seek quotes for appraisals.
And that's which intersection again, AJ?
Airport Road and Loop Road.
Airport and Loop.
For Airport Road and Airport and Loop Road.
I'll second that motion.
We have a motion and a second. Are there any further questions? If not, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries.
Thank
There
you.
go. Thank you, AJ. Is there any other business to come before this board? If not, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
I'll second the motion.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Thank you, everyone, for your time.